Good afternoon, Jayhawks, and welcome back to this week's episode of RCReplay. I'm your host, Andrew Lind. On today's show, we got lots of exciting news from the weekend. First, we got Jordan Ziegler, who will give us an update on where the MLB teams stand as the regular season wraps up and all eyes are turned to the postseason, which is right around the corner. Kyle Mathis will take us back to last weekend's Big 12 Conference football scene and catch us up. Kristen Howell will give us the scoop on everything Kansas athletics, and I will fill you in on the top 3 games from NFL Week 4. All this and more on RCReplay. Last Friday, KU men's and women's basketball kick-started its season with the 37th annual Late Night in the Fog event. This afternoon, we turn to our very own Lily Brewington and Emma Lionetti, who tell us more about the evening. Ladies?
Thanks, Andrew. Last Friday, 16,000 fans packed Allen Fieldhouse for Late Night in the Fog. Students, parents, recruits, and many others finally stepped foot into the Fieldhouse for the first time since the pandemic. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. KU alum Rob Riggle was the one who hosted the event. And man, was he good. Him and Bill Self pre-recorded skits, including one of Riggle's most famous from Step Brothers. However, there were many other stars on the court the other night. Lily, tell us more about Friday.
Thanks, Emma. It was the unofficial tip to KU men and women's basketball. The stands were packed and the crowd was so loud. Both teams took the court and showed off their dance moves. We also got to see a preview of what our women's team will look like this season with an inter-squad scrimmage. The ladies come out in style and come to play. I can tell this season will be a good one for our team. As for our men's team, this just may be the best season yet, Emma.
That's right. The men took the floor and I was in shock. I'm also not sure what Dave McCormick is better at, dancing or basketball. But overall, the crowd was impressed with both. Our guys tore up the dance floor, and one may call them multi-talented. Their talent continued as they too competed in an inter-squad scrimmage. This season, KU welcomed 10 new additions to their roster. Sports Illustrated has our Jayhawks ranked 3rd in the top 25. From the looks of it, the men definitely earned that spot. Men's basketball will officially tip off November 3rd versus Emporia State.
To close the night, Grammy Award-winning Run DMC took the court with their performance. Run DMC had the crowd going as they sang their hit song, It's Tricky, and Walk This Way. Overall, it was a great night in Allen Fieldhouse. Both teams know what to expect from their fans, and I cannot wait for the basketball season to begin.
All in all, it was a great late night to preview KU basketball. Now let's throw it over to Jordan to look into the MLB playoffs.
Thank you, Emma. First, let's look at the National League side of the playoffs over here. It was said a while ago as the surprising San Francisco Giants have officially won the NL West and claimed the 1 seed on the National League side of the playoffs. The other 2 seeds in the National League side of the playoffs will be the Brewers and Braves in that order. The Brewers are a bit of a surprise this year too, winning the NL Central, but their pitching has been elite all year and has more than made up for their lack of offense. The Brewers will be facing the NL East Division champs, Atlanta Braves. The Braves have the worst record out of all playoff teams in the MLB. They have been plagued by injury all year, yet have still found a way to sneak into the playoffs. Needless to say, the Braves were helped mightily by the rest of the East underperforming. The East was supposed to be one of the best divisions in baseball, but now looks to be the worst. Finally, the 100-plus win Dodgers will be taking on the Cardinals, who rode a 17-game win streak all the way into the playoffs, having a 1% chance to get in just a month ago. The matchups on paper heavily favor the Dodgers, with the better pitcher most likely being Max Scherzer taking the mound. However, the Cardinals are obviously red hot, and with one of the best bullpens in the MLB, they could attempt to use their pen early. No matter what team moves on to the divisional round, the Giants are going to have their hands full. Now moving on to the American League side of the bracket. The 1 seed will be the Tampa Bay Rays out of the American League East. For back-to-back years, the small market Rays have won the East and secured a number 1 seed on the AL side of the bracket. They will be looking to avenge the World Series loss this year by winning it all. The Astros out of the West will be the 2 seed and take on the White Sox out of the Central, who will be the 3 seed. Despite the cheating scandal and multiple key players leaving the Stros in free agency, they remain atop the AL West. The Astros certainly are not the unbeatable team they were back in 2017, but could still easily make a run at a second World Series title. The White Sox amazing farm system has finally come to the MLB and are making an impressive impact. The Sox made the wild card last year but could not get past the Oakland A's. They are back and even better in 2021, looking to head back to the World Series for the first time since 2005. The AL wildcard was not set until the final day of the season, with 4 teams potentially still alive. The Blue Jays and Mariners needed a Yanks or Red Sox loss, which did not happen. The Yankees and Red Sox will play a wildcard game in Fenway Park as the Jays and Mariners came up just a bit short of pulling off the upset. Despite the underwhelming finish to the 2021 season, given that there could have been a possible play-in game, the MLB playoffs are shaping up to be one for the ages. Right now, it's anyone's to win. And I would just personally like to say, I think the San Francisco Giants are going to beat the Chicago White Sox in 7 games to win the World Series. Stay with us as we will be right back after this short break.
Just say no. Just say no.
Just say no.
Just say no.
Just say no.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
Welcome back. Well, during the commercial break, I was just thinking more about the MLB and what Jordan was talking about and how sad it is that the Royals have no postseason dreams this year after the season that Royals catcher Salvador Perez delivered. Perez ended in a tie for first place in both home runs and RBIs with 48 and 121 respectively. So hopefully a better luck next year, Well, Kansas football didn't have the prettiest of weekends, but other teams in the conference sure were just fine. Kyle, what can you tell us about the Big 12 football after this week?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. This week in the Big 12, there were a whole bunch of spectacular games. We'll start in Manhattan, Kansas, where the 6th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners played the Kansas State Wildcats. The 320 K-State passing yards from quarterback Skylar Thompson was not enough to get the job done, and the Sooners made it out barely with a 37-31 win to remain undefeated on the season. It was a shootout in Morgantown as well between the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the West Virginia Mountaineers. Both quarterbacks threw for over 250 yards, but it came down to a 31-yard field goal with 19 seconds left to propel the Red Raiders forward for the win. Texas Tech is now 4-1 on the season. In Fort Worth, where Texas Christian University and the University of Texas went head-to-head, it was a close fight. The running game of Texas, which gave them over 250 yards, propelled the Longhorns forward with a 37-32 victory. Texas has not lost a game since Arkansas in Week 2 and are now also 4-1 on the season. In Stillwater, Oklahoma, it was a top 25 matchup in the Big 12 between the Baylor Bears and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Although Baylor was undefeated, coming off of a win against KU, the Cowboys walked away with a 24-14 win, even though Cowboys quarterback Spencer Sanders threw 3 interceptions. Finally, Jayhawk football traveled to Ames, Iowa, where the Jayhawks played the Cyclones of Iowa State. The Jayhawks gave up 564 offensive yards and lost the game 58-7. I think it's safe to say that all Jayhawk fans want to forget that game and move on to the bye week with a look toward Texas Tech in our next home game in Lawrence. After the break, Kristen will talk about KU sports from the last week.
Yeah, I always just clap at the start.
This is where everyone's talking amongst themselves. Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it?
Are we supposed to smile?
When do we start? Somebody over here already started.
Can we talk about the piccolo part's the most complicated one?
It is. If you listen, you're doing it when the band's not playing.
You have to tell me when it starts. I still don't know.
Here we go.
Just clapping now.
No humps.
Nailed it.
I practiced this morning.
Tomorrow was just two people.
It has a right and a wrong way of doing it. No. Wrong.
I like my way better.
I don't know how to
1,
do
2,
the
3,
end.
4.
It's just I don't know the
Sorry.
head.
It's hard by yourself.
Welcome back. KU soccer fell to K-State in a tough match last Thursday that ended up going into overtime. Their next game was on Sunday against Iowa State. Although the Jayhawks fought hard, they fell to the Cyclones 1-0. Their next match is against Baylor on Thursday. Kansas volleyball played Iowa State this weekend at home. The Jayhawks went 1-1 with the Cyclones, winning their first match in 4 sets. Both teams went into the series undefeated and are now tied with the 3-1 Big 12 record. The Jayhawks' next game series is against Texas on Saturday. The women's rowing team got their season started this weekend at the head of the Oklahoma meet. All 4 boats in the race in the Women's Collegiate 4+ placed in the top 20. The rowing team will compete next on October 24th as they host the Jayhawk Jamboree here in Lawrence. Kansas women's cross country raced in the Gaines Creek Classic on Friday at Mizzou, finishing in 6th place. The women's golf team competed in the Golf Week Conference Challenge last week, finishing in 10th place. Kansas will conclude their fall portion at the Ron Moore Intercollegiate this weekend. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for sticking with us. The NFL had a lot of interesting games this past week, and for the Kansas City Chiefs, they are back in their winning ways against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, following back-to-back losses in weeks 2 and weeks 3. Now, working in tandem, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill connected for touchdowns on 3 different occasions as Hill racked up 186 receiving yards. Now, this is just one of the 5 touchdowns that Mahomes was responsible for, as he delivered for 4 more in way of his 278 passing yards on 24 of 30 completions. Now, the run game was also there for the Chiefs, as Clyde Edwards-Helaire registered for 102 rushing yards, and Darrell Williams found the end zone in lieu of his 42 yards on the ground. Now, despite some back-and-forth action throughout, Kansas City marched to a 42-30 victory. Plus, head coach Andy Reid made NFL history as the first coach in NFL history to win 100 games with 2 different franchises, so a big accomplishment for him. Next, we go to Foxborough at Gillette Stadium, where Tom Brady returned for the first time since heading to Tampa Bay with his new team. On tap was a solid QB matchup between the future Hall of Famer and Brady and former Alabama standout Mac Jones. But all eyes were turned to Bucs kicker Ryan Succop, who scored 12 of the team's 19 points on timely field goals. Now, many Chiefs fans praise the kicker for his contributions to the Chiefs after a 4-year stint with the team from 2009 to 2013. Now, this game took a final turn in the last few seconds when the Patriots hit the left field goal post on what would have been likely a game-winning field goal. You could just see the heartbreak in head coach Bill Belichick's eyes. Now, Tom Brady and the Bucs found a way to win, sneaking by 19-17. Now, finally, we head south to East Rutherford, New Jersey, home of the New York Jets. The Jets captured their first win of the 2021 campaign over the Tennessee Titans in overtime, 27-24. And although the focus was on Matt Amendola, who nailed the 22-yard field goal to win the game in overtime, I want to focus in on that fourth quarter. Trailing 17-10, rookie Zach Wilson connected with both Jamison Crowder and Corey Davis for touchdowns on consecutive drives. Now, Wilson threw for just under 300 yards with 297 on his way to his first NFL victory. So congratulations, Mr. Wilson. Well, that is all we have for today's show. Thanks for tuning in. Well, now we will not see you October 18th due to fall break, but we will return when we come back. We will fill you in on Kansas football and their homecoming matchup against Texas Tech, plus much more. I'm Andrew Lind. We will see you next time on Rock Chalk Replay. Rock Chalk, Jayhawks.